So now I'm in the uncomfortable position of having to catch up because I'm one of those people who, when he starts a book, I have to read to the end, and it's the same with advent calendars, no matter the quality of the food product. And so we're going to go now to number 11. Hello and welcome to the latest Vlogmas video. Guess what? We're just 5 days away from Christmas Day. And this realization prompted in me a couple of thoughts. Number one, I haven't bought any Christmas presents yet. And number two, I've gone 11 days without opening my advent calendar. That is the real important one. But today, upon looking at this, which by the way was bought for me by my wife, who still thinks I'm 6 and thinks Star Wars is the center of my entire universe, she is half right. It got me thinking back to when I first moved to the United States in about 2008, and at that time it became quite clear to me, just as with a lot of these other things that I've noticed about Christmas, that at that time advent calendars weren't such a big deal, and they were very hard to find on the shelves of grocery stores, and the shelves of people's homes were taken up by creepy elves. And this was a massive culture shock for me, because what you've got to understand is that back in Britain, this is a staple of Christmas. Back there, an advent calendar is something that every child, and even some humans, really look forward to at this time of year every year. Now, you might be thinking, what is an advent calendar? Indeed, this has been a question that's been put to me by some Americans in the past, so for the benefit of those, an advent calendar, at least these days in the commercial sense, is a box that looks a little bit like this. It could come under the branding of one of many chocolate companies, and they have 24 windows on them. And these represent all of the days leading up to Christmas. And on each of these days, you open a door, and behind it, usually, is some chocolate. Some of them will even contain alcohol. I didn't discover those until I was 10. And for kids, this is really exciting because it's like one tiny present every single day until the big hurrah of Christmas Day. And like I said, when I first moved here, I searched for them and Christmas crackers, and they were very hard to come by. That's changed a bit in the last 13 years. These do now show up in the likes of Aldi. I think you can even get them at Target, maybe even Walmart. Of course, you can also get them online. That said, I do still detect that there's less of a cultural acceptance of advent calendars in the US. And in some respects, I suppose that's quite strange. And I partly think that way because their origin story, just like with candy canes, can be traced back to Germany. One thing I've noticed about America is that it's very willing and very happy to replicate some of those German traditions at Christmas time with candy canes, but also putting pickles in Christmas trees. This isn't all Americans, but this is just, Americans often with German ancestry. And then, of course, you've got these German Christmas markets like the one here in Chicago. And so it seemed like it would make sense to me that the advent calendar would follow suit. And of course, like I said, it has. It is available. You can find advent calendars of all kinds in the US. Now, I should note that those same Germans were Lutherans, and for much of the time thereafter, advent calendars were used in a religious sense. They'd still have doors behind each one with some sort of imagery pertaining to the birth of Christ. So you might have the star, you might have the shepherds, the 3 wise men, and then you get to Christmas Eve, where it would culminate with an image of the Nativity. I can almost see that aspect of an advent calendar being more popular in the US than in Britain. And maybe it was because of the existence of that these more commercialized versions were a much harder sell in America. But it is America, the world capital of capitalism. Try saying that after 5 whiskeys. And so all of this seems to be changing before my very eyes, to the extent that it isn't just chocolate advent calendars that you can now buy commercially, but you can even get ones with beer inside them, as my wife did recently, and I've seen advent calendars containing Wisconsin cheese. Now, the entire idea for this video began, of course, because I was behind on my advent calendar, and I feel I ought to rectify that right now on screen. So what are we at? Last time I was the 9th, so I have to open the 10th, which is, this is the fun part, because they don't put the numbers chronologically, so you have to look around to find it. Makes it more exciting when you do. There it is, number 10. So I'll go ahead and open that. And inside, and it's been the same so far with all of these chocolates, it's a little bit rubbish, this one. It's just a rectangle with the word Star Wars written on it. And then you eat it, and then, that's the joy every day. Chocolate, ooh, how very Lawrence, Actually, that Oreos binge that I went on mostly accounts for why I forgot about this. Okay, so that was not great chocolate. And that's not me bashing American chocolate, all right, some of which I absolutely adore. It's because, and this is one of the problems with advent calendars, once you open some of the doors, the air can sometimes slide under and get to the rest of the chocolate and it goes a bit stale. And the problem is you've got 24 days of this, and it's particularly a problem, I suppose, if you forget to eat the chocolate. So now I'm in the uncomfortable position of having to catch up, because I'm one of those people who, when he starts a book, I have to read to the end, and it's the same with advent calendars, no matter the quality of the food product. And so we're going to go now to number 11. There's no point me doing all of these days here on camera, because that won't make for great TV, or maybe it will, I don't know. Yep, that's just as terrible. So that's 13, 14, 15, 16, I'm a glutton for punishment. 17, oh, it's like trying to get through the Phantom Menace. 18, get out, God. 19, 20, I'm getting tired. This is overwhelming. 21, what day is it again? Oh, it's the 20th, isn't it? Oh, well, I'm ahead now, just 8:21. That's it for this episode. Let me know in the comments below if you have an advent calendar. I'm Lawrence Brown. You can follow me on Twitter at LostInThePondUS, and don't forget to subscribe to my channel so that you don't miss another Vlogmas episode. And a big thank you to my new patrons who've joined my Patreon community over the Christmas holidays. If you would like to become a patron of Lost in the Pond, you can do so today at patreon.com/LostInThePond. Until tomorrow's video, goodbye.